Hey guys, welcome to Don't Worry Wednesday. How you guys doing today? How you guys? Steve and Katie.
Wonderful.
Fantastic.
Yeah, how are you?
Awesome, thank you. So, hello everybody. Today we've got two guests with us. Joe couldn't make it today. He's currently celebrating a birthday party for his son, one of his sons. And so instead, we have with us, for the first time ever, a woman giving responses to our comments today. And this person is Steve's wife. Steve has been on the show once before, but yeah, do you guys want to introduce yourselves in any particular way, or?
I am Steve. If
All right.
you've seen the one show I filled in for, I believe, Ryan a couple months ago, maybe a few months ago, you may briefly know me. You've heard a lot of my music on the intro and outros for some of the stuff we got floating around there. And this is my lovely wife, Katie, who will be joining us to give us a female input on some of the topics we're going to discuss on tonight's Don't Worry Wednesday.
You've probably never heard of me, but I'm honored to be here. I'm excited to talk with you guys. So, hi.
Nice. Thank you, guys. But yeah, it seems like people are rolling in here. We don't have like a full ton of people in here yet, but if you guys are lurking, feel free and comfortable to talk in the chat, because everyone here is super awesome, super nice, and no one's going to judge you for anything. We're just a really awesome community. So yeah. Anyhow, this is the show where we talk about whatever is on your mind, the issues or the concerns that you might have. Something lurk. Thanks, Saul. Anything that's been on your mind lately. Maybe you're having issues with your parents, or maybe you have a friendship that's fallen apart. Maybe you lost a pet. Maybe you're just going through something for the first time. You're not ready. You're not sure how to maybe perform on stage, or you want some advice there, or maybe you want some advice on your creativity, or speaking in public, or all sorts of different things, right? There's so many things throughout our lives that can worry us that we can get, advice on. And, we're not here to really tell you how to live your life. We're here to give you perspective, right? So many times through my life, I've learned from other people and their perspectives. I've been extremely blessed to hear the perspectives of other people, and being allowed to use that to leverage and increase happiness and security and all that kind of stuff in my life. So yeah, hopefully we can offer you guys the same. But yeah, mostly we're not psychologists, we're not professional psychiatrists or police officers or anything along those lines, and we wouldn't want to be because we'd rather be here. We're just here to be friends, and to give you guys support. So thanks for joining us, guys. But yeah, so what do you say we get into it? I see there's still yeah, one thing is, if we don't have anybody here that posted a topic anytime recently, we're gonna have to call out to you guys to try to come up with some for us, because otherwise we will just be here talking nonsense for 2 hours straight, and nothing will get done, and it won't be helpful. So
we can talk a lot of nonsense.
Yes,
in the past, but
oh yeah,
it's
some of it could make sense.
Some.
Yeah. Actually, a long while back, we used to have meetings. We still have these meetings today, but we used to have these business meetings where we would just all get together and talk nonsense for like an hour or 2 hours and then leave, and nothing happened at all. Steve, I bet you dreaded those.
I remember those years of long, prolonged conference meetings, and oh my goodness. Now, thankfully, we've added some members to our team who are good at organizing and condensing and keeping us on track and stuff. And
yeah.
Man,
nice.
It has turned those 4 or 5 hour meetings into like hour, 2.5 hour meetings, and we get so much more accomplished. Like, fantastic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
They were pretty terrible before, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess it was good on a personal level just to be able to talk, but I mean, yeah, nothing was getting done at all.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, okay. But yeah, if you guys are watching, feel free to try to help us out here by posting your own topics. Feel free to do so. But yeah, I'm gonna go through the list here, and if any of you are here, hey Stephen, if any of you are here, please just drop a hey, what's up in the chat, and or any fun emoji you want, and we'll get to you. I'm gonna go through the list of names of people that we've recently had topics from. So we've got Eric Bodine, Caffrey, Mark Anthony, Royal, also known as Saigo, Sevlev, SK, Jojo, Braden, and Regal. If any of you guys are here, please let us know. And if not, that is quite all right. Regal, you're here.
All
That's
right.
awesome.
Cool.
Fantastic.
Glad to be here, Regal.
Cool. Yeah. Regal, is that all right if we do yours? This is great. I love the topic for this one. The feelings I didn't ask for is what it's titled. I don't know. Princess named this topic for you, but I think that's just a brilliant topic name. So, yeah, Princess has dropped the link in the chat. Oh, and by the way, if you're new here, if you want to send us an anonymous question, you can send it to us at through email to dww@bss.studio, or you can also post on our website and all that kind of stuff. Princess posted those links up above for us. But yeah, so anyone, if you want to read along, go ahead and click on that link. This is from Regal. It's titled Feelings I Didn't Ask For, and the lovely Princess is going to read it for us.
I know I'm not very active on here, but I need some help, and I have nowhere else to turn to. I'm in love with my best friend, and I don't know what to do anymore. She's in a happy relationship already, and has been for more than 3 years, and I respect that. I would never do anything that could even possibly mess with that. But this is killing me. I don't want to feel this way. I never did. She's always been my best friend, nothing more, and that was fine. But for almost 3 months now, I've had stronger feelings for her, and it just keeps getting worse. I want this to stop. I want things to go back to how they were. She's happy with her boyfriend, and I'm truly glad that she's happy. I just wish it didn't hurt me so badly. Is there anything I can do to make this go away so I can get back to living my life? This past week, it's been just consuming me. It's on my mind almost all the time and seriously weighing me down. I don't want to be jealous, upset, or mad anymore because I shouldn't be. The two of them are really good together, and I love seeing how happy they are. But I'm tired of all the negativity surrounding it now. She's my closest friend and the only person in the world I truly trust. But I can't talk to her about this for obvious reasons. I can't let this force me to drift apart from her. Sorry for the repetitive sentence and the wall of text. It's hard to get my thoughts straight. What can I do? From Regal.
Yeah, thank you, Regal. And, first of all, I think you've already started taking the right steps towards achieving this. It can be really hard when you you find yourself falling in love with somebody and you can't control that. And you're like, this person's already in a relationship. They're my best friend. I don't want to do anything with this. I don't want to be a part of this, but this is my emotion. And that's really tough, right? Because now you're just battling yourself and you're battling this part of you that wants something and you can't stop wanting it, yeah, that's a tough scenario. I've been in similar scenarios in my life, and hopefully Steve and Katie can also chime in here and have some really great things to say about this, and I'm sure they will. Obviously them being married is a sign of understanding love to many extents and to great extents. But yeah, it can be really, really difficult when it's just a battle of yourself. But yeah, like I said, I think you have already taken the right move. First of all, you've recognized it. You've recognized that you don't want it. And you've already taken action to post here, which takes courage. And I think courage is something you need to get through these kind of things. It takes a lot of courage to, ask somebody out or propose to somebody, right? But it also takes courage to do the right thing in any scenario. It takes courage to tell yourself no and to stick with it, right? and to not give in to those feelings. And so I applaud you for even bringing this topic up and being willing to share this with us. So thank you very much, Regal. But yeah, without any further ado, I'm going to give it to the two
Yeah.
who are guests, who we are honored to be with here. So go for it, guys.
We are honored as well. And yeah, I will say, Regal, that is just a very raw, raw feelings and emotions, and I appreciate that. I think that, you know, that's just honest and telling how you feel, and you know, things don't always work out the way that you want them to. And I know you have, you know, when you have that feeling of loving someone so much, and you know, it's a real love, it's a real connection, but it doesn't always necessarily mean that it's the marriage connection or the right connection. Or it could just mean that maybe there needs to be more time. And if she's in a relationship with someone at the moment, and you, like you stated, you know, you don't want to get in between that, and I totally respect that, and I think that's a wonderful thing. Just giving things time, you know, seeing where things go, but not putting your heart on hold for that. I would say just maybe keeping that relationship, because if you do go in and say, you know, how you feel and get in between the relationship that she currently is in, that's only going to hurt your relationship that you have now. And clearly you care about this person and you don't want to ruin that relationship. So I think just being there for them and continuing to be that friend and that comforting person, that, you know, maybe it is only friendship that will come out of it, but we all need those close friends too in life. So yeah. Do you have anything to add?
It's tough, you know. That's a crappy situation to be in. It really is, because you don't want to feel like that, but you know you do, and it hurts. But the thing you got to remember is, first off, you're doing the right thing by, like Ryan said, noticing, you know, the feelings you're having and the problems they could create if you act upon them, and you know, not doing so. I mean, right there off the bat, like, applause. 90% of people would just be selfish, think of themselves, and go for what they want. You know, you're respecting your friends enough to, you know, hold back and go, wait a minute, I'm not sure I know how to deal with this, which is totally okay. You're already ahead of the game in that. Just know you're doing the right thing. And you got something to add to that, Casey?
Oh no, it just shows that you really care, and I think it shows a lot of integrity on your part. And you know, it's not just for lack of a better word, I guess, just, you know, flying off and like, oh, I love this person already. Obviously, you have a deep connection relationship with this person, and you care about them enough to let them be them and go. And yeah, that was all I had to really say.
Yeah, you know, it's kind of interesting. You know, with what you guys are talking about, what I'm kind of thinking about is, it's like when you love somebody, and then you have this idea of what love is, right? So true love, right? We've talked about this on the show many times. True love is when you desire the best for somebody, right? I mean, that's really the basics of what love is. It's when you desire the best for somebody, and you truly do, right? And you're willing to do what it takes to make sure that they have that, right? As a parent loves their child, or as a friend loves another friend. And I think that plays an important role here, because it's interesting how you have this experience where you feel like you love them, right? You have this emotional high that you can't control, right? And we as a society call that love. And it's not necessarily not love. It can be a result of love, but it can also just be a result of desiring something for yourself. You know, it's like, oh, I want this person in my life more and more and more. Well, it's kind of more so about you than it is about them. And what's fascinating here is that not only are you doing the right thing, you're allowing your love to conquer your desire, because your true love is to wish the best for this person. And in this scenario, the way you think about this is that the best is for me not to intervene and separate her already existing relationship, right? And so you're choosing to take the path of love. So, and that sounds so weird because by loving, you're denying the feeling of love. But in reality, by loving them, you're by doing what you're doing, you're showing so much more love. They won't even know or can appreciate it because it's an inner battle. But the amount of strength it takes to deny that desire is immense. And the fact that you've done it so far is an incredible credit to you. Um, and it actually shows that you really do love them. So many times we get into relationships where it's like, oh, I love them. You know, we got this emotional high and we just dive into the relationship. And we find out later when the emotional high fades away, it's like, I, I think I guess I never really loved them. It was just that I wanted them in my life and I wanted them to make me happy instead of me being willing to sacrifice things in my life to make theirs better. Right. That's a completely different thing. Right. But one is more of a true kind of love. A sacrificial kind of love is a more true kind of love. I mean, that's why suffering exists in the world, right? If you didn't have suffering, you couldn't prove your love ever. And that's what's beautiful about suffering. That's what's beautiful about what you're going through right now. You could say it's kind of a test against your ability to love. If you conquer this, right? So I'm saying this to help you get through this. If you conquer this, what can you not conquer? You can conquer anything because this is difficult, right? If you can get through this, then you've proven that later in your life, when you do find that person you love, you can love them regardless of what emotion is empowering you to do,
And it'll
whether
be-
it's good or bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, go on.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was just, and it'll be reciprocated. What
Oh,
you were
yeah.
saying is so on point and so good, Ryan. I was just like, yeah, that, when he does move on there, he will eventually find, that person, that love that he feels towards them will be reciprocated, and he'll know how to love someone truly, just as you were saying. That was great.
What a great quote, man. If you don't have suffering in the world, you cannot show your love.
Yeah. I mean, that's so true, right? I mean, that's obviously like why Jesus died on the cross and all that kind of stuff. We can see in our life that so oftentimes, um, if I mean, you can imagine a world without suffering, right? We can try to imagine it, but what we find is it's like then how then words are just words, right? We never actually prove our strength. We never prove that we really do love. So yeah, that's another way of looking at struggle because it helps us to recognize the value in it, and it's a beautiful, beautiful thing. So often, like even in this case, so often we look at something and we call it bad just because we don't like it. Like the fact that I love this person is a bad thing, and we say it's bad because we don't like it, right? But just because we have pain doesn't mean it's bad, right? We know that when we exercise, it's painful, but it also increases our muscles. It's actually a good thing. And that can be true here too. This could be an internal battle to give you strength later on, right? Great strength. Um, so on that note, and all in, kind of just glorifying and saying you're doing a great job already just by doing what you've done so far. Do either of you, I see that Katie's gone to the side, but it's fine. Have any thoughts of how do you get over the emotion? How do you start working towards removing this emotional high? Do you have any thoughts or experiences with trying to get that emotion um, suppressed or even just completely removed?
Gosh, that's a tough one, I'm thinking about it and like I'm remembering situations that I was in, when I felt similar things, basically feelings that I didn't want to feel, that I couldn't control, but how can I get rid of these? And for me personally, and this may not be the case for everybody, but I would just keep going forward, and doing what I do in it sounds, cliche, but trying not to let it bother me, but progressing, like, okay, well, in your instance, that relationship, well, I can't have that, but I feel like I want it, and that, well, there's something else out there. Just keep don't close off your vision so much to where you're just focused on one person. Open it up a little bit, and you know just do your best to push forward, and different opportunities will present themselves, different people will present themselves, and more often than not, they're in the weirdest kind of situations, and the ones that you don't expect to meet somebody at all, doing the most meaningless tasks, running the most, standard of errands. That's when you happen to, run into people. Life happens. So just keep your mind open, and just keep in mind that, there's something out there for me that hurt, and that's what I felt like I want, but it didn't work. You had the respect enough to go, I'm not gonna, mess with something that's going on for somebody else. And there's something like that out there for me. And there absolutely is. And it will strike you at the time you are least expecting it. Believe me. And just don't close your mind off. Just keep it open and keep your chin up and keep pushing forward. You can do this.
Yeah, I really like the idea of kind of keeping your mind open, because the thing that happens a lot of times when we get this emotional high is all of our focus is aimed directly at that one thing. It becomes extremely narrow. And so the more we can take up opportunities, the more we can get just kind of, you're not doing this just to try to run away from the problem, but doing it just because you want to move forward in your life, right? You don't want to get stuck here. So if you just like look at what's around you, what are opportunities around you? Like, hey, can I participate in this kind of activity? Can I participate in this project that's going on? Getting involved in different things. The more you do that, the more you open and expand your mind, the more you preoccupy your mind and show it many other things. And the less it's capable of narrowing and focusing down on one thing, which is this emotion, this love, right? This obsession sort of thing. So yeah, I really like Steve's advice there, because that's so true. I can remember different parts of my life when I was extremely focused on people, but the more I expanded my opportunities, the more I expanded just the different activities I was aiming towards, the more my mind was not focusing on them, and then the more I was able to get over that emotion. And I think that really does help. Um, so yeah, and I'm not sure if you heard the question, Katie, but I'm going to ask you as well. Do you have any advice for how to get over these emotions? How to maybe not necessarily just suppress them, but start working towards diminishing them, just so that they go away completely, or whatever. Do you have any experience in that?
Yeah, I do. I've had, experiences where there was some, a person that I was really interested in, and I really felt like a real connection there, and, even being close with them. And it didn't work out the way that I thought. And I found out that really after the fact, I guess I really found out that what I was really intrigued by and mistaking was that I was in love with the idea of what it could be with them. And it wasn't necessarily real, true love, because not that you don't truly feel love, but just that it's a difficult process to go through. But I guess the only advice that I could give you is, when you're struggling with something that hard, it hurts you so deep to your core that you have to let yourself feel those emotions. You have to let yourself get through those emotions. For me, it was, I had to cry. I mean, I had to feel about it, and that was just something that I had to do. And also, I had to distance myself from that person for a little while, just to kind of get a perspective of, I'm okay with me, and I love me for me. And so loving yourself and getting through it and letting yourself feel all those emotions instead of just bottling them up and putting them, in a drawer somewhere and just harboring that hurt. And letting yourself feel, and that's where I've found freedom. Not only that, but having a relationship with God and being able to work through those things with Him, and just finding myself, focusing on me and building myself up, and knowing that maybe this isn't going to work in the way that I would like, but I love myself enough to work through these feelings.
Yeah, that's really great, and that's really true. I think there's a lot of times when, as soon as we just admit the truth, we're like, this is the reality of the situation. I'm crazy for this person, right? And then the other reality is that I don't need this person, right? And the other reality is, true love states it wants the best for another person. I don't know if I'm what's best for them. I'm their best friend, yeah, but at the same time, I don't need to be in a relationship with them, right? For me to be a good friend, or for me to help them in their life, right? And so I think a lot of times, once we admit the reality and we just come forward with it to ourselves, we can start to diminish that emotion through logic, and also through outlet of emotion, right? Because I think you need both. In a scenario like this, I mean, it's fully an overwhelming emotion that we're trying to get over, right? And so, yeah, you have to pour that emotion out somewhere. Some people like to pour that emotion out in their creativity, right? So some people like to draw or write. Some people like to play music. Some people like to play instruments. Some people like to, make a story up. Some people like to voice act. Some people like to, do, what do you call that? Like, I guess like sculpting and stuff. There's all sorts of different kind of stuff, right? Some people do video game stuff, right? But if there's a way for you to be creative, I think that really does help to kind of release those emotions for some people. And then again, you can cry if you feel like it. I mean, that's all right. There's nothing wrong with that as an emotional outlet. I mean, there's so many times in my life where I haven't cried much in my life, but the few times I have, it is because of like an outpouring, a release. And it's just like, at the end of it, I'm like, it's done now. It's done. It's done, and then I can move on with my life. And that's a beautiful thing about being able to release that. So I think, yeah, just reassuring yourself that it's going to be okay, right? And that the reality is it's not, you don't want this, right? And you've already done both of those things. So you've hit the logic side pretty hard. Maybe what you need to do next is hit the emotional side up and see, is there a way you can release these emotions? And there's, all sorts of different ways. Joe talks about the 5-minute rule, where you have like a problem and you just get angry about it for 5 minutes and then you drop it and you can no longer go back to it. It's not allowed anymore. So you go out, you just run into a field somewhere and scream your heart out like, oh, that's not how it's supposed to be. I'm so angry with myself, blah, 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 blah. And then once the timer beeps, beep, 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 you just shut up and you're like, all right, done. Whew. That felt good. Bye-bye.
Yeah, that's me. I've done that. Mine's a 20-minute rule, though. It's okay to extend it.
20-minute rule.
But you would be amazed when you get into a situation like that. If you think of how you're feeling and reacting and, frustrated, infuriated in that moment, and then you give it 20 minutes, because that's what some statistic I read on some website, probably not true, said that it was the cool down time, and it happens to work for me. Then think about what you were just angry about and see if it makes you as angry as you were or as upset. And for me, all of the time, it's like, no, it wasn't as big of a deal as I thought. I'm glad I took the time to just chill out, go for a walk, smell the flowers.
Mm-hmm. And then scream at them. No.
Yeah.
Scream therapy is a thing.
Yeah.
I've tried it. It works well sometimes.
Yeah.
You got to do it into a pillow.
Yeah. Or sing about it. I know that sometimes in my life, when I'm dealing with something, I know it's kind of maybe a little bit weird. If you're not religious, it's fine. But I like sing to God, and I'm just like, about whatever the struggle is. And it sounds weird, but it's usually when I'm alone and just, in my car or whatever, I'm driving, and I'm just like, you know, um, it feels good. And it's both creative and an outlet of emotions. So there's all sorts of different stuff you can do in that realm. Do whatever you think is going to work for you. Try a few things. Experiment. So this is one of those times that's really cool for you because you get this chance to experiment, right? Experiment with yourself, experiment with who you are. How do you manage yourself? How do you manage your emotions? You're capable of learning all of that right now. And it's going to be so much more useful to you later on because there's so many people who have never gone through that process and they're just loose cannons firing off anger all the time and don't know how to control themselves, right? And I don't think that that's the path at all at which you're heading because you're already trying to reflect and come to an answer with all of these sorts of problems and stuff. So I got to give you props. Did you guys have anything else you wanted to say or add on to this?
I think you summed it up pretty well, my friend.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you guys. Cool. So Regal, I hope that helped. I hope that if not helpful, at least it helped you to think about different options you have or gave you a little bit of encouragement. But yeah, feel free to give us updates about how this whole thing is going, and we wish you the very best on this because it's not easy, right? It's not easy to go through what you're going through.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So if you have anything else you wanted to say, feel free to say it. But yeah. So thank you for your time. Let's move on to the next one. So I'm gonna go through the listed names here again. If you're here, feel free to drop a "Yo, what's up" with your mom and dad in the chat, and we will get to you. And if not, we'll do a topic from time to pass. But here we go. We've got Eric Bodine, Caffrey, Mark Anthony, Royal, Sevlev, SK, Jojo, and Braden. If any of you guys are here, please let us know. Regal says, thank you all for the advice and kind words. I feel like I have a better understanding of this and I can address this with a new approach and breathe a breath of fresh air. Thank you so much. Awesome.
I'm really glad to hear that.
Good luck,
Yeah.
Rachel.
Yeah. This is it's really great to be able to talk about that subject. I think so many times if we don't talk about that subject, you end up in a situation like if you do get involved with somebody, right? It can be really unfortunate. Like I think the number one reason for divorce is because they don't understand what love is. They think it's purely an emotion. And I think you've already acted out that you understand, right? So it was really great to have you ask the question, and because it can help a lot more people than just you. There's a lot more people going through that kind of this kind of situation than you'd imagine. But yeah. So I haven't gotten word or seen anybody message saying that they're here. So I think that right now we just don't have anybody who with us who have posted in the past. So if anybody, yeah. Oh, you asked something sweet, Jono or Jono. Yeah, if you have a topic you want us to cover, please do. Oh, okay. Well, that's an interesting thing because right here, okay. So they said, oh, let me show that. Sure. It's kind of an interesting thing. So this is a show where we talk about topics, whether religious or not, usually trying to keep it away from religion, just because there's a lot of people who are offended by that sort of thing. But of course, none of us here are. We're all loving people, and we don't, every religion that exists has truths to it, and we honor that. And we hope. Yeah, yeah, for sure. Yeah, we honor all religions, not that we believe in them all, but because they all have truths in them, regardless of what it is. And we know that because otherwise they wouldn't be around today. So we're free to talk about that if you'd like. What's interesting here is, I guess I'll allow them to say it. So I'm a Catholic, And how do you guys identify with your denomination?
We are Christians.
Christian.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Non-denominational.
Yeah, non-denominational. All right.
I was
So-
raised Catholic as a child, but honestly, I can't recall enough of it to. You would know more expertise on that than me in this particular instance. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. So Joe, as you know, is a Catholic, and I am a Catholic. So not everybody here at BSS is a Catholic, and that's you know, good. It's a good thing, because it gives us a lot of different perspectives and things like that, which is cool. But yeah. Thanks, Hemlock. Hemlock, I mean. Yeah, if this is a topic you want to cover, we can talk about it, but it might be better to hold this topic off for when Joe's here, because Joe is very knowledgeable about this. But if you'd rather have Steve and Katie give their input from about what Catholicism is from an outside perspective, which is much like your own, that would be totally awesome and welcome. Because there are many different things about what we think about what is Catholicism, and we don't know, unless you're in it. And so there's many different perceptions and things like that. And there are many things that the church did that were wrong. There were many things that they did that were right. We're all human. So yeah, I think this is a fine topic. So the topic here is, I mean, I don't want to take away from Princess reading it, but then again, it's just right in the chat. So hold on. Yeah. Princess wants to read it. Okay, so go for it. Princess? No, you can't tell me to go for it. You go for it.
I said anyway. So Jonah says, I'll ask something. I personally have a very poor understanding of Catholicism as a Christian. Basically, people say that you worship Mary, and also could you explain counting beads? I believe referring to the rosary. And that is from Jonah.
Thanks for the question. Yeah, like I said before, it's really cool. Growing up as a Catholic, we were taught to not necessarily put ourselves into other religions, but to explore other religions, because it helps us to identify what we are and what's different. And then also it helps us to, ask ourselves questions like, why do we do this? Why do we do that? And then we try to find those answers and come to a deeper understanding of it. But yeah, so just out of curiosity, do either of you know the answers to these questions? Or have any beef with them? Obviously, that can be a thing, and that's okay.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't say I have any beef with it, but I didn't grow up Christian or Catholic. There's a lot of Catholic principles and things that I've tended to latch on to, just different ways that they worship and different I cannot think of the word right now, but just different symbolisms, things that you would do, and there's just reasons for that. Even as a Christian, taking communion, and as a family, we do take communion together and stuff like that. That might on a regular basis, and so I think I don't know a ton about Catholicism to feel comfortable really touching that subject a ton, being a Christian. But I see a lot of similarities from what I do know, and I see some differences. So I think ultimately we worship the same God, and there's just different approaches, and I think that's beautiful about that, because I think that both religions have something to learn from one another, or just as people, we have things to learn from one another. I don't think it really defines us, I guess, and who we are, whether we're Catholic or or Christian.
And it's the same religion, just to clarify. It's just a different, what is it, denomination? Is that what it is, Ryan?
Yeah, you can say that.
Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah. So ultimately, the main facts are all still there. I don't personally know a whole lot.
Do you worship Mary?
Do we worship Mary? That's a great question. No, we don't worship Mary. We pray to Mary. And that's a distinct difference. So a prayer, the actual definition of prayer, do either of you know what it is? Just out of curiosity.
The actual dictionary definition of prayer?
Well, the original meaning of prayer.
Talking to God?
Close. It's to request.
Huh.
Prayer means to request. And so when we pray to somebody, you can actually pray to somebody right in front of you. I pray you do this for me, right? I request. Or help me, I pray. You can actually say to somebody right in front of you. So when we say a prayer, that's what we mean. So a lot of times we worship through prayer, right? But the way we've turned the word now, it means to speak to, right? So it's a little bit different. So we can speak to and we can pray to Mary. We can request or talk to her, right? Because in our religion, she's in heaven, right? We know that she's at least a saint, if not, something even more, mother of God and so on. But it is not worship to talk to somebody. That is our most common form of worship to God, right? But we address him as God, as master, as ruler of all, as someone who we make sacrifice for, someone who we adore, right? And that's different than how we talk to Mary. We might adore her, but she's not master. She's not God. She's not creator. She's not any of that. And we don't necessarily glorify her in those ways. But we do come to her in a motherly way. Like we look to her as our personal mother, because she's the mother of God, who we are all related. We've been accepted into his family. And so therefore she is our mother. And that's, when Jesus is on the cross, he says, I can't remember exactly the line, but he gives his mother over to Christianity, over to his followers, his disciples, and so on. And she then becomes this person that we get to speak to in heaven and say, hey, will you help me? Will you console me? Will you give me advice? Will you be the one to speak to God for me? And a lot of times that's why we go to her, because we want her to speak to God for us, because she's more wise. She's more caring. She's more loving. She's holy, right? To great extents. So a lot of times when we go to her, it's to request from her to speak to God on our behalf. Not that there's anything going straight to God, not that there's anything wrong with going straight to God, but it's an extra instrument, having a mother who can speak for us to our Father, right? Is something that's very beautiful. Yeah. We often ask her to pray for us, right? As Princess said. So that's kind of how we speak to Mary without actually worshiping. Worship means if you were to ask ancient Israel, how do you worship? They would say, well, we sacrifice, right? Sacrifice is almost synonymous with worship. So when you offer up your food, or when you offer up your time to God, right? That's a sacrifice that you're making. And that's how you worship. Prayer is a worship because it's a sacrifice of time, but it's also building that relationship with him, right? Which is the benefit of that sacrifice of time, right? So it's a beautiful thing. Worship is more of a sacrifice, whereas prayer is more of just speaking to and making a request. But yeah, Kay, did you have anything you wanted to add or say about that?
I mean, it was just explained to me kind of for the first time. So yeah. I mean, it's just a different way of seeing things, and I appreciate that. It's cool I like to learn about,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Um,
ways people worship and pray, and so yeah.
yeah. It's a it's an interesting thing. I think there's so many different we all come from different places, and so we all know different things, and we can all learn from each other, which is so cool. No matter almost like what religion you are, you have something that connects back to truth, something that's healthy, something that's good that we can use in our lives and get closer to our God or whatever it is. But yeah, and then I guess for the last thing, you asked, and could you explain counting beads? So on the beads, we have something we call a rosary, and it's not mandatory. It's not forced or anything. It's just something you can do if you like, if it helps you. And it doesn't help everybody. Not everybody is necessarily big on using the rosary because it's just a form of meditation. So a rosary has a bunch of beads, right? And you're thumbing along the beads until you get around the whole thing, right? And every time you get to a certain kind of bead, you say a Hail Mary, which is Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee. Blessed art thou among women, and blessed is the fruit of thy womb, Jesus. Holy Mary, Mother of God, pray for us, sinners, now and at the hour of our death. Amen. And we say that 10 times in a row. We say that 10 times in a row because it helps us to concentrate on Mary, on Jesus, on God, on the facets of her relationship with God and what she did in her life while she was here, what Jesus did in his life while he was here. And it's just a form of meditation. And then when you get to another bead, you do an Our Father. And then you do the Hail Marys again, and there's chapters and there's all this kind of stuff. Ultimately, it's a ritual, which is to help you meditate, and nothing more. And I guess, and also to pray to God and to Mary and to all of that. But yeah, it's not necessarily it's not forced upon Catholics. It's just recommended because they found value in it, in the practice. It didn't come from the Bible. It was just something some people started doing someday, and they found it effective for themselves. And so then they said, "Hey, why don't we share it?" And so the whole Catholic Church kind of just got up with it, and that's how it became what it is. But yeah, do you have anything you guys want to say about that?
We don't
Sorry, it's
know anything about that.
yeah, I get it. That's why I was like, we might not want to do this. It might be a better topic to do when Joe's here, but
I think you would have probably a better conversation, going back and forth with Joe, since he is a lot more knowledgeable on that. Kind of threw me for a loop there.
I'm on the same page as him. Like I don't know. I'm confused too. Tell me.
Yeah. There's a lot of mysteries, right?
That's a good way to, just show too that there's just always something we can learn from one another, and we can take it for, however we choose, and learn things from it. And if it's not for you, it's not for you. And if it is, then great.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Do you guys do anything that's similar to a rosary? It's different kind of or using physical objects to help you in your prayer life or things like that?
I don't use any symbolic type things other than when we do communion.
Yeah.
Usually we'll have like unleavened bread or something like that, and
or the what is it, challah bread? I believe it is.
Yeah, we do stuff like that, and we pray together, and we actually have a book that kind of helps us go through that, and just to honor God and speaking prayer from the Bible, and just doing that together as a family, not only in a church community, but just together as a family, because to us that is important. So I think as far as that kind of symbolic thing, that's probably the thing we do most together.
Yeah, that would definitely be the most relatable, because you're familiar with communion and the process of it, and so we just do the same thing at home.
Practicing the Sabbath day and trying to honor that day.
Mm-hmm. So, for sure.
Yeah,
it's tough, but
yeah, I like the. Mm-hmm. I like the analogy of the book actually, because you guys get together and you read, and it's to help you with your life, help you with your prayers, help you with your worship and understanding. And while you read, you're meditating. I mean, you naturally are. If you're reading scripture or whatever, especially as a group of people and you're kind of going back and forth, yeah, you're definitely meditating while you're doing. You're thinking about all sorts of different stuff in your head, and that's kind of what it is like when you do a rosary. So that's, I mean,
I've
very
noticed
similar.
that meditation has definitely been a really great thing. I mean, even whether you believe in God or you're religious or whatever religion you are, or if you're not religious at all, I mean, meditation in general too is
Sure.
just a wonderful way to kind of come to yourself and really try to clear your mind. And it can take a lot of practice, but even before I became Christian, that was something that I practiced doing, and it helped me. It helped me heal in all sorts of ways, and just calming down the busyness of our minds and just centering ourselves. So
Hmm. Yeah, absolutely. That's so true. That's so true. Yeah. I mean, there's so many things in my life where I've been helped by meditation. It just helps so much.
yeah,
Um, Helma Rock Hero adds another thing as one of the 10 Commandments. Um, it is our honor, or sorry, it is to honor thy father and mother. And Jesus gives up Mary to become our spiritual mother. The rosary is a way to partake in that honor. And yeah, for sure. There are many different ways we can honor our family and including those who are in heaven, and that definitely counts.
like that.
Absolutely.
Very cool. Well, thanks, John. I hope that that helped your question. And I'm sorry that Joe wasn't here today. I know that he would be able to add a lot because he came from um, a form of Christianity where they were very anti Mary, anti you know, a lot of the things that Catholics do. And then kind of traveling that from one side to the other, he has a lot of extra input he can add there, just because he's had to kind of shut down or explain away a lot of the misconceptions and for the truths or for a deeper understanding of of Mary and God and all of that. Um, the history behind all of it and stuff like that. So yeah, sorry I wasn't here, but
Yeah,
most did. Good. Yeah, it's all right though. Sometimes we get questions like this. You're just like, I don't know how to relate to that, but yeah,
we're
it's
human.
fine. Yeah. Okay. We appreciate it though. Does anybody else have any questions about anything? Obviously, religious not, I guess, but yeah, similar subject or different, it's all good. Um, what we might do since let's see here. Yeah, what we might do instead is we're going to go over some past questions from people who haven't been here in a while. So how about we just start with Eric Bodines right at the top. We'll do it. This is kind of on topic. It seems to be a pretty similar topic, possibly with the last one, but we'll find out. So Princess has linked us the topic in the chat. If you would like to, you can feel free to read along as she speaks out the words that she has recorded. Which is the question. I'm saying this in the weirdest fashion possible. You're welcome. The topic of this is this girl. Good luck, Princess.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
So this is by Eric Bodine. I need help. This is lengthy, so sorry. I missed the last 3 streams, which has been much more now. Lol. So I have a lot. There's this girl that I've liked for, I don't know, 3 years. She is kind and she likes me as a friend, and I have been rejected multiple times by her. But I haven't given up. Some of my friends say to let go, others say to keep going. The strange and most powerful thing about it, though, is that she isn't what others would call hot, nor does she like hugs, which are my favorite. She isn't a lot of the things I'd want in a dream girl, and yet I love her a lot. Help! From Eric Bodine.
Nice, Eric. All right. I think this topic is great. It's super just relatable and human. Yeah. Totally. Yeah, you haven't been here in a while, and it's okay. If you ever come back, we'll let you know we did your topic. But you know, it's a funny thing, this world we live in and ourselves and how we fall in love with random people and like, why even do I like this person? Help me. Stop this. Or whatever it is. But yeah, so a topic somewhat similar to the last or a previous one, but yeah. What do you guys have on this?
Well, I think it sounds like, um, just from what I've read on here, that this girl's probably not into the person that way. They're somewhat put in the friend zone, and that hurts. That sucks. But I know, personally, it just sometimes it's not. It just doesn't work for everyone with a connection like you want. And I think a lot of people are just searching and searching and searching for this hole to be filled in their heart. And a lot of times people tend to put that on another person. Well, if I could have them, then that would fill me and make me happy. And then say it did happen and they fell in love with you the same way, and then you realize who this person really is, because that's what happens in love and in relationships. You learn about each other, and you learn all the things you don't like about each other and all the things that you do like about each other. I love you. But it's not all rainbows and butterflies, as far as that goes. And it's, I think, something that, sorry, I think it's just something where she had been had put this person in the friend zone, and it kind of seems like they're not wanting to accept it because it hurts. But I think that when you do just accept that and try to move on, because if she has rejected several times, the more you push, I think the more it's going to turn that person away. Whereas if you kind of step away and do your own thing, perhaps that person may turn around and be like, oh, they don't really care that much. Or you will, again, finding your self-love in yourself and meet that right person that's going to give you that fulfillment that you may be searching for.
I agree.
Yeah. It's kind of interesting. You were just kind of speaking about this. I think a lot of times what we fall in love with a person is respect. We respect them. And it's hard to respect someone when they're just chasing after you, right? And that's kind of like what you were just saying, Katie. I mean, if everything you do is hinged upon making somebody else like you, you're giving them no room to respect you, because you're just living your life based on them. You're not doing anything that's respectable, nothing of your own that they can look at and go, wow, that's an accomplishment. Now that's amazing. Wow, they really stood up for this, or whatever. It's not until you become you and stop chasing after other people that you become respectable. And I think that is one of the most attractive things to people. So yeah, um, if you want to have this person like you, I'm not trying to say give up or not. It's your choice, right? Sometimes it's better to give up if it's a bad person. If you realize that person is not someone you want to be around, then it probably is good to give up on that sort of thing, to try to distance yourself regardless of your emotions. But if it's not, I won't hold anything against anyone who decides they don't want to give up. But I would say take the advice Katie just said. Don't chase. It's so much better to go off and be yourself and do what you desire out of life outside of this person. And they will come to like you if it's meant to be.
Yeah, great. Yeah, I think if you continue to chase after someone, just like you were saying, Ryan, you do just become like that is who you are to them, is they're obsessed with you. You know, that's kind of what they think after, you know, they've repeatedly said, no, you know, this isn't for me. And so then when you continue, it essentially makes you look bad in a way. And you don't really want that. And you don't want to sit and dwell and focus on someone else so much that you don't have your own life, you know, and your own self, because each and every one of us are made individually and beautifully, and we've all got something to bring to the table. So finding what it is that, you know, you bring to the table and being happy with you, I think is the most important thing, absolutely, before you even consider pursuing another individual.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Steve, you got anything you want to add to that?
I agree with what she said.
Yeah, right? Yeah, I mean, she's right on. It's so true. Especially, I mean, I remember times in my life when I did not love myself, right? And then trying to acquire a relationship with someone, and how depressing that was, how depressing I felt, how dissatisfied I was with myself, and when I realized that everything I was doing was for me and not for her, right? The whole point of me wanting her was that I thought it would make me happy. It had nothing to do with her. It had nothing to do, like, it had a little bit to do with her. It had a little bit to do with her emotions. Like, I did want her to be happy, right? Naturally. But like, if I said I love you and I didn't get in return, it hurt. And that's wrong, because if I say I love you, it should be because I want you to feel good, not because I'm reaching out to have you say the same thing so that I felt good for me, right? That's a totally different thing, right? Of course, it hurts when you say I love you to someone you love and they don't respond with the same, but at the same time, it also helps you recognize, wait a minute, maybe I'm not trying to make them feel loved. I was just reaching out to see if they loved me. And that's not love at all, right? I think we can really identify with ourselves that we can be selfish like that. And that we need help in the area. We all do, right? We all suffer there. So I think that in this case, Eric, if you happen to be here, if you happen to be watching, I would say we are not by any means accusing you of being selfish or depressed or anything like that. But from my personal experiences, like I was, going through and chasing after people only left me feeling drained and more focused on myself until I just collapsed, you know? And so I would try to warn you, stay away from that. Instead of chasing after the person, just build your own self and learn to love and appreciate them for where they are, not whether or not they like you, right? And so I don't know. That's my personal advice based on only like what I've gone through and the failures I've had in that sort of realm. But
Yeah, that's good. I can definitely relate to some of the, when I was a little younger and single, and it was hard, because I wanted to be with somebody, and I kept wanting the next person to be the right person. And so, I would meet somebody and they seemed like everything that I wanted. And so then I would start to dwell and start to think about it. And then it's all you think about. And then you're not thinking about yourself, you're leaving yourself behind. And I think that it can add to any depression or,
totally.
And just self-hatred and saying, feeling bad about yourself, when reality is it's not, it's not about this other person. It's about you finding, your own self. So yeah.
Absolutely. Cool. Well, I think because this was so close to a previous topic, there's a lot that doesn't need to be said necessarily. So it's kind of a quick one for us here. So are you guys cool with moving on to one more here?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. Anybody in the chat, if you've got anything, please let us know if you've got any concerns or worries, anything on your mind, because we're here for you. We're here to interact with you guys and do our best to serve you guys. So yeah. I'm gonna run through the list of names. I think what we're gonna do next is we're just gonna go right down the list. We're gonna do Caffrey's. Because yeah. But if Brayden, Jojo, SK, Sevlev, or Royal are here, that'd be awesome. Yeah, we've got a quadruple topic tonight. Yeah, that's a rarity. I think part of it is because we have, we have topics that are so similar. Sometimes you get them on here, and it's like every topic is so like completely different from the last one. It's like, okay, hold on, let's just shift everything over. Whole new preface, whole new, yeah. You have to give like a whole baseline again. We don't necessarily have to this time. So this one is from, let me make sure I clicked on the right thing. Okay, Princess put a link in the chat for you guys if you want to read along with us. I've been saying Caffrey, apparently on the forums, their name is Gareth. And the title is Dealing with So-Called Friends. Interesting. Well, please read it for us, Princess. Thank you.
So my problem happened last year while I was at university in New Zealand, home country. And I was just wondering if I dealt with it in the right way. I was living in a flat with some friends of mine, 6 of us. But what I initially thought would be a place I could socialize with my friends turned out to me being ignored unless they needed something. There was one in particular who would always want me to help drive her places, move her stuff when we split apart, and help her in general, which I'm always fine with helping others. I can't say no to anyone. In general, the problem was that none of them would ever do the same for me when I asked for help. Everything from asking them to support me in an event I had 5 minutes from our home, to asking if they ever wanted to do something. They would always agree and then pull out the last second or go hang out with each other and not tell me. And then they would apologize and say it wouldn't happen again, which it did. I felt really isolated throughout the year, which got me really depressed, and I ended up attempting suicide on September 27th. Instead of talking about it to me, she told her friends and my friends about it. These interactions made me afraid to attempt to contact anyone else, because if people the closest to me did this, what would everyone else do? Since moving out, I haven't spoken to any of them, but I'm not sure if I should let them know how I felt throughout the year. But I don't want to hurt them / upset them, so I haven't tried to contact them. Is this the right decision to take? Sorry for the lengthy post and lack of grammar. From Gareth / Caffrey.
Yeah, wow. Thank you for reading that, Princess. And Gareth, yeah, I mean, grammar was pretty good. No worries there. So yeah, that's really tough. When you're struggling with depression and you reach out to your friends and your friends aren't acting like they care about you. That is really tough. I think a lot of times, when we are depressed, I think one of our main desires is love, is for others to care for us. And we want to know that. And I think that can drive us down the wrong path sometimes because people are unreliable. They just are. Even if they didn't intend to hurt you, maybe they wanted to help you at first, and then something got in the way, then they forgot about it, and then they ended up being with their friends, and then it happened multiple times, and it seems like, well, okay, you guys just don't care about me enough, or else you would have remembered, And I tell you what, a lot of times people aren't thinking about you, but they're not thinking about other people either. They're just thinking about themselves, and that's the way that it is. And that's hard. How do you deal with that? And how do you deal with friends like this? Do you reach out? Is that the best thing to do in this scenario? Is it good to reach out to them now after time has passed? And tell them everything that kind of went on and why you attempted suicide, and that it was in a way partially because of their unresponsiveness to your need of care. Or is it better to just kind of close that chapter and move on with your life? And yeah, I mean, these are great questions and things that I think all of us have had to deal with in some way or another throughout our lives, with people just not being who they said they're going to be, or just depression in general, and how the two kind of really unite so well in this topic. But yeah, what do you guys have to say?
Yeah, I did you, I'm sorry. Oh.
You go ahead, Chris.
Yeah, I definitely have struggled with similar issues. Having, groups of friends, not the same, but I definitely know what it feels like to have friends that, just kind of leave you by the wayside, and they may not, like Ryan said, they may not even realize what it is that you're going through, because you could be so deep in it that that's all that you're really thinking about. And, to say, should I leave these friends behind or should I try to reach out to them? I think that would be a question of whether have they, maybe tried to reach out and see where you're at, how you're doing, because I think there's also sometimes people just will think when you're going through a depression, well, oh, they're acting weird. I don't know, I gotta go away from this, because I want to have fun and live my life and do this. But then there's also a time where they're truly not true, like good friends to you, or they're not capable of knowing what a true friend is. And I think one of the most important things for me when I was going through struggles with drugs and different things, that I thought all these people were my true friends, and I'm like, why aren't they here for me? And I had been through a lot of things as a child, and abuse and stuff like that, and I felt like I was completely alone and nobody was there for me. And I ended up realizing that in order for me to truly heal was to rid these people of my life. And it wasn't because they were bad people or, that they didn't care about me. It's just that they weren't good for me. And so for me, I had to eliminate those people from my life and find friends that wanted to just be around me or be there for me. So, and sometimes that's hard. It's hard to find, but I think having true, solid friends is better than having a few that are flaky like that, I guess.
Well, that's totally true. Like it's unfortunate, but what you're going through is totally normal at some point in everybody's life, and which I went through not long after I got married. Is you have to evaluate your company, and some of us have friends we've been hanging around with for years, and they're cool, and they're fun, and everybody gets along with them, and they might even come to your wedding and be part of the wedding party. But they might not be like the best influence. They might not be, there's just somebody you kind of kept in contact with with for years. And I had a few friends like this, and some that weren't even like bad influences at all. They just weren't bringing me up and pushing me forward. And it got to a point where I was just like, I want to go forward and ahead with my life, and I need to surround myself with people that are going to help me achieve that are going to help me move forward, not keep me where I'm at or drag me back by talking me into doing something stupid that I don't need to do or don't want to do. And you start going off your friends list, and you're like, man, well, they really don't do anything but bum money and rides for me, and like I don't really need them. You check the list off, and it hurts a little bit. You get some falling outs that go down. I know, I've had them. They're rough. Some of them really suck. Some of them are super easy, but sometimes you just got to purge your life with those people, because you're meant for something better than that, and they can't get past a certain point in their life. If you hang around people like that, they can bring you down.
I know one thing that did help me with that was, as far as friends go, is seeking out friendships from like people that were smarter than me, which wasn't hard to do. But seeking out friends that were more knowledgeable than me, people that had, wanted to speak life into me, wanted to do healthy things, finding a running partner if that's what you're into, or, somebody to, play video games with, or play guitar with, play music with, or just be creative with, finding somebody that has similar interests, but somebody that has a positive outlook on life. Because I do believe to some extent you are who you surround yourself with, and surrounding yourself with positivity and people that are going to just lift you up, it's going to be better for you, and it's going to be better for everyone that you encounter, because you're going to be that lifting spirit for somebody else that's going through the struggle that you've gone through.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I've been very blessed in my life, not to have to worry too much about separating myself from specific groups or friends. I have a little bit, but most of the time, what ends up happening is I'm just moving forward and they're standing still, and then they just kind of get left behind. If they're the kind of person that isn't running along with me, right? And
Yeah.
so that, for me, that's kind of happened naturally. But if you're in a position where you feel like you're not moving forward in your life right now, start moving forward and see who sticks. Sometimes that's the thing. And sometimes you do encounter people who are just like along for the ride, and they trying to bum off you. And I think if you have enough understanding of yourself, you can kind of recognize who those people are, because we're all capable of being terrible people. And the more we understand that of ourselves, the more we can recognize who to stay away from in others. I think that really is one thing that helped me a lot, when it comes to this, like, who do I associate with? Right. And that a lot of times came down to recognizing what was not good in me, and then making sure I didn't grab people who were the same in that category, I guess. But yeah, I totally agree with you guys, that if you have friends that are maybe, just like Steve said, just go down a checklist and ask yourself, like, what really, like, is this person the kind of person that's helping me to be the best version of myself? Right? The best people in life, or our best teachers in life, right? The best teachers are the people that are helping us to become the best version of ourselves. The best parents are the ones who help us to become the best version of what we could be. And the best friends are the same, right? So if you're going through your friends and you're like looking down and you're like, wow, this person is helping me become a better person. Let's keep them. Let's contact them. Let's get in contact with them and try to talk to them more, right? Let's really spend more time with them. And then if you find another person that's on your list and you're like, yeah, this person it's kind of been dragging me down. This is one of the reasons why I keep on being a stupid person. I need to maybe get away from them.
And I like how you said that, Ryan, about, like, if you can't decide, like, just move forward and see who sticks. That's perfect. Because there's some people you just like, you're like, man, I had friends I've known for years, since I was a small child, and I loved them because they were my friends. But you get to the adult portion of your life where you're supposed to, like, grow up and make something of yourself and have goals and dreams and aspirations, and they're just not doing that. And I'm like, I can't be around that, but I need to get past it. That's a great way to do it. Just move forward and see who sticks. I love that. Nicely put.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it. So I guess the other topic here is really about depression. One of those things, I've said this many times before, and I'll keep this brief because I've said it so many times. But depression, a lot of times, there's many different kinds of depression. But usually depression is like basically two bad habits. And if you can solve those two bad habits, you'll get out of it. And so the first one is just having a negative perspective. And that's hard to just get away from. But the second habit is the problem, and it's having self-focus, not necessarily being selfish, because I know a lot of people who are selfless, but they still got everything is about them, right? And so when you're negative and you're self-focused, everything that happens around you happens to be bad about you. You think everything, like, if you look at yourself, you're not going to be nice to yourself. You talk bad to yourself. You're always upset with yourself, right? You always criticize yourself. Everything that you do is bad, right? You're not worthy of anything, right? And you really notice the bad parts of you, and you don't allow the good parts to shine. Even if you recognize something good in you, a lot of times you shut it down because your brain is so focused on the bad about or focused on the negative in life, and then you turn that inwards and you end up hating yourself inside. And I think that it's really really unfortunate, but I'll tell you, it happens to so many of us. It's kind of ingrained in our society. It's w- kind of like, I mean, if you watch the news, right, the news is always negative, always, because that's what sells. But then what do you think that does to us? It trains us to be negative. It trains us to look for the bad things in life. And then the more we do that, the more we focus in on those, the more they make an impact on us, right? And so depression can be many things, but a lot of times it's those two things. So if we can remove those two things, if we can get out of ourselves and start to really focus on other people and love them and not worry about what they think of us, because a lot of times they're not thinking of us anyways. They're just thinking about themselves, right? If we can focus on them, that a lot of times helps us. And then two, if we can stop focusing so much on our negative stuff, right? And I know how hard that can be, but if you can stop focusing on the negative stuff in life, that can help you move forward to being out of depression. If you do things in life that make you proud of who you are, if you just do the things in life that you're like, wow, if I was that kind of person, I'd be proud of that, then do that. If you do the things that you're proud of, you cannot be both proud and negative and depressed at the same time. They conflict entirely. Anybody who's ever been depressed, in a moment where they're experiencing, wow, I'm proud of myself for that. That was really cool. The way I stood up to that person, or the way I did this, and I know it was the right thing to do, right? And when you're proud of yourself, for that moment, all depression disappears, right? So if we work towards becoming virtuous, if we work towards the kind of person that would make us proud, to being that kind of person, and it's not easy. You have to get outside your comfort zone. You have to do the things that are uncomfortable. But if you work towards that, you start to live a life where you see how much potential you have and you realize that you're valuable, not because of the things that you do or because of what you're capable of, but because you are a human being. And that in itself is a beautiful gift. But we can't see that gift if we're denying the vision to ourselves, if we're not acknowledging what our gifts are, because we're not even looking around. All we're doing is we're looking at ourselves and being really down on ourselves, right? But it's a tough thing to struggle through. But anyways, that's what I got to say on that. And so I'm going to put it over back on your guys' hands. Have you guys gone through depression? Have you experienced that, and what kind of things helped you through it, if you had?
Yeah, yeah, I've definitely struggled with depression, especially with this pandemic going on. And so
Yeah.
even very recently, I've struggled with depression, as many, many, many people have. And I think just recognizing, what you're going through and that it will pass, and whether it's, needing to get, help, like from a psychologist or, something like that, because that's definitely something that's helped me. I mean, going to therapy, just being able to have someone to talk to that's completely unbiased outside of the situation, and I can just do everything out that that I need to get out, and then they can help me to navigate it or just listen. Because sometimes really what you need to do is just get it out onto someone else that you can trust. And if it's a therapist, they don't have a super personal investment in your life. It's just someone that you can let out those feelings towards. So that's definitely been one thing that's helped me. Also, taking care of myself has been a big thing, because when you get into a routine of everything is shut down and there's not really anything to do, and you're stuck inside, and you're like, do I sit and binge watch Netflix all day, or and not that that's always bad. Okay.
Sure.
I can binge watch sometimes, but I mean, when you do it on a repetitive basis, it can make you more depressed. And just trying to take time to do some healthy things for yourself, whether it is like, I know for him, he likes to play music, and for me, I like to sing and get it out, or go for a run, or just go for a walk. And sometimes I'll turn on a podcast, or I'll just turn on a song that I love, and I'll just keep playing it on repeat. just something positive and upbeat, and I just walk. And you know, it's so important and so refreshing to just take time to do something good for you, and something that makes you feel good. You know, showering, and for me anyway, showering, like doing my hair and my makeup, you know, for me, that makes me feel a little better. You know, and I know it looks like a million variety of different things for other people, but for me, that's just one tiny thing that helps me get through my day. And just taking that time to go for walks, or you know, listening to your favorite music, or you know, something, but just trying to get a release. For me, working out also helps, getting some physical energy out. So those are some things that help me.
An outlet is basically it. You know, when you're on either side of the spectrum of happy, depressed, ultimately you need an outlet, you know, especially when you're depressed. And that's something that's totally dependent on the type of person you are. I can only give personal examples, you know, like Katie can only give things that are particular to her. But like me, I'm really depressed. You know, I want to listen to music. I want to play music. I want to play my guitar. I get inspired when I'm depressed, but I also get inspired and want to play when I'm happy. You know, it for me, it's one of those things that can cover a multitude of different, you know, feelings and emotions. But ultimately, it's up to you to figure out what your passion is and what you like to do, the thing that sets you off, that makes you feel free. And when you get depressed, you do that.
I think sometimes too, it's hard for people struggling with depression, because I know I've gone through different levels of depression throughout my life, and sometimes it's paralyzing. You know, sometimes you feel like you can't get up. You know, like, as maybe embarrassing as this may sound, sometimes it was really a struggle to just go take a shower, do something for yourself, you know. And you know, it seems like common life to people, you know, that's just things that you do. But when you're struggling with a deep depression, it's really hard to do those simple tasks, just putting one foot in front of the other. So I think even if all you can do is just play a uplifting podcast, or you know, even coming on here and just saying how you feel, how you're feeling, and let somebody lift you up, and let somebody just kind of feed into that. Or sometimes I personally have done this, just playing, I think I looked up like just upbeat podcast, or you know, something like self-help, lift me up, motivate me, motivation podcast, and I just would just start playing something, because it was like, get up and move. So at some point you just gotta do what works for you. But
Yeah, absolutely. You know, and on that note, it's kind of well, I guess also on the note, when I was starting, when we started this topic, you have to make sure that you aren't relying on others to pick you up. And the reason I say that is because there are people out there who care for you, but they don't get to control what's inside of you. And there are others who care for you, but still, you cannot guarantee that they're going to be able to pick you up all the time. Sometimes they will, sometimes they won't. Sometimes they won't be able to. Sometimes, just like Katie was saying, you're just stuck in bed and you're like, I don't have any reason to get out of bed. I don't have any motivation to get out of bed, right? And you're just like laying there and you're like, well, yeah, I guess I'll just stay here forever. You know, one of the things is you gotta get out of bed. That's one of the worst places you can put yourself in depression, is in bed, because you're not moving then. And when you're stagnant, you just slowly decrease and reduce into nothingness. So too does your motivation. But yeah, I think one of the pitfalls that you might have fallen into here is that, you know, maybe your friends threw you into depression because of this scenario. But the thing is, never allow others to decide how you feel about yourself. Because as soon as you start doing that, even if it's a good thing, right? Like other people tell me I'm amazing, and it makes me feel amazing inside. That's a trap. Because as soon as you do that, you become only a victim to what other people think. And when you are relying on others to make your day for you, more often you'll find they don't than when they do. Because humans aren't evil, humans aren't terrible people. They're people, though. And they're not always going to be around. They're not going to always put on their best show. They're not always going to make you feel amazing. And so what you have to do is what Katie was saying is do stuff that builds you up. Go out and exercise, take a shower, even if it's simple as that. I think that helps tremendously, because if you get to control how you feel, right? I mean, I'm going to give you two options. Either A, you get to control how you feel, or B, you let others control how you feel, right? What's a better option? And it's going to be you get to control how you feel, because then you're in control of yourself. It's not other people. I think one thing that's unfortunate with the culture that we have today, and I think this is expounded upon and increased upon by a lot of the current controversial issues, like within like LGBTQ. I'm not in any way saying that they're bad, but what I will say is that they have this rule of acceptance. They have this idea that to be accepted is everything. All they want in life is to be accepted by others and to be approved by others, that whatever they think and do is okay. And the truth is, it's not always okay. If you cut somebody, right, that's wrong, right? If you hurt somebody on purpose, that's wrong. There's something wrong there, right? And we can't accept that. And that's true for ourselves. We can't accept everything we do. We have to forgive. That's why forgiveness exists. Humanity runs off of forgiveness. So when you do something wrong, don't try to justify it. You look at it and you say, okay, that was wrong. When someone else does something wrong to you, you look at it and you say, that was wrong, right? But then you heal from that through forgiveness, right? And that's crucial, because that's how you heal yourself out of sorrow. That's how you heal yourself out of this depression, right? But if you are looking to people to accept you when you can't even accept yourself because you are human and you are flawed, there's something wrong about that. You'll never find it. You're searching for something that doesn't exist, right? So if you put all this weight on other people to accept you, you are bound to end up depressed. Many, 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 many people that I know that buy into the I guess culture of acceptance just end up depressed, and they never feel accepted by people, ever. They never feel accepted by people, because the key problem is they can't accept themselves. And the only reason they're looking for acceptance from other people is because they can't accept themselves, and they want other people to accept them for them so they can start, right? And that's not to say, I'm not trying to say that in shape of like the LGBTQ community being like people not accepting who they are, whether it be male or female and all that kind of stuff. I'm just talking about just in general. We all do things that we don't like. We all do things. We all have parts of us that we dislike, and that's normal. That's how it's supposed to be, right? We weren't created perfect. We weren't meant to be perfect, because if we were meant to be perfect, we would have been created perfect. That's just the way it is. We were meant to be good. We were created for good, and that's good enough. If we can acknowledge those things and appreciate those things in life, that will move us forward, rather than looking for acceptance and focusing on acceptance in the world and focusing on our friends to acknowledge us. If instead we put our focus on what's good, what good can I do in this world? What is good about this world? What good have my friends done? What's good about my friends, right? Looking at all those things, now you have a culture that is aimed towards success, aimed towards building strength in ourselves and each other. And instead of desiring something that we can't fulfill, we are fulfilling something that's even greater than our own desires. because what is good is God's desire, and that's bigger than our own. So that's what I have to say on that topic. Is it in relation to the friendship and depression, how those two kind of intertwine. Is a lot of times our culture has us pointed in the wrong direction. We got to try to reframe our minds and say, you know what? Let's not be a culture of acceptance. Let's be a culture for good. But yeah, that's what I got. Do you guys have anything else you want to end this topic off on?
No, I was just reading. I was reading one of the comments.
Yeah.
That Homaro. Here, I'm sorry if I totally butchered the name.
It's a hard name. I think you got it.
It's a hard one. I tried to say it quietly, so maybe you could just kind of mumble it through.
Yeah. Said.
Hero.
Yeah, hero.
No, but I can totally relate to what they're saying. Just not having your decisions that you've made, bad decisions that you've made in the past, defined you. And it is hard because, there's a lot of decisions that I made in my past and that I still struggle with today. And, people always thinking of me as the person I was before. So I guess I'll just be honest. I was addicted to drugs when I was younger, and I had a hard struggle with that. And I made a lot of bad decisions, poor decisions. I treated people badly. I did, things wrong. And even today, when I run into people that, I knew from then, it's like, that's what they think of me. So I feel like I'm defined by decisions that I made in the past, but it absolutely doesn't define me. And it was just something I had to work through too. So I just thought that was something I could totally relate to, because it does hurt. But then I finally had to just be honest with myself, and that's your story, that's your testimony, that's what you lived through, and that is why I've been able to relate to a lot of other people on that level that sometimes some other people can't relate to. So it's helped me, and it's actually became a strength. Since I've worked on it, and it became a strength of mine in being effective and helping others.
Yeah, absolutely. And for those of you who are simply listening, a lot of people who are tuning in are actually like playing games or something, and they're just listening to to it as a podcast. Or there's a chance that there are people that are doing that. Helmrock said, I think the thing that has been painting me the most with relevant issues today is how quick people are to let past decisions completely define who a person is now. As someone who has made many mistakes in the past, big and small, and works every day to change them, the idea that people can never change hurts me in a way I find hard to describe. And yeah, absolutely. Steve, do you have some on that?
Yeah, I've been reading that for a minute here, and I like that. As someone who's made many mistakes in the past, big and small, as I have myself, and works every day to change them, which you try to, but all you can do is better yourself. You can't change the past. The idea that people can never change hurts me in a way that I find hard to describe. It's not that people can't change, it's just that some people don't want to change. They don't want to make the initiative or take the steps that are necessary to change. Some people are just happy where they are because change is hard and change is difficult. And, I still get uncomfortable with change. I mean, it's a little bit off. It's something different. It's filling in for Joe because he can't be at the podcast tonight. Yes, it's difficult and it's unnerving, and I'm nervous, and but you just do it. It's a choice you can make, and some people choose otherwise. You just got to remember, you can't control other people. They're going to make their choices based on what's ever going on in their life at that point in time, and you can't control that. What you can control is you.
And they may also, I totally agree with that, and they may also, find it hard to believe that, say me personally, that I could change, So somebody that I run into that I knew 10 years ago could run into me and be like, oh, well, she's probably the same person. She's probably still doing this and that, whatever. And in reality, they can think whatever they want. And ultimately, you can't change what they think. But I also had to find some sort of comfort in knowing that it really doesn't matter what they think. And by showing by my actions and just living my life the way that is better and continuing to better myself, because it's a lifelong challenge, to better yourself. We always have things to learn. We always have things we need to change. So just being able to be okay with the fact that some people are going to think bad about me. Some people aren't going to like me, and that's a hard struggle, because I'm a people pleaser. I want people to like me, but the reality of it, not everybody's going to, and everybody's going to base their own opinions on whatever they think. And sometimes it's just best to, take it with a grain of salt, I guess.
So, Hero, I hope we didn't offend you or anything like that. That was not the intention at all.
Oh,
Yeah.
no, so I could relate.
Yeah. If anything, yeah, I think we can all relate to that comment. I mean, I being as old as I am now, and I look back at the past and I'm like, wow, I've changed so much, right? But of course, just like Katie was saying, like, you don't, like, if you meet someone from a long time ago, right? They don't know who you are anymore, right? This concept of like them judging me on the past would be almost ridiculous, because it's like that was so long ago. That was like 20 years ago. Like you realize that those things that happened back then don't define me now, because so much time has passed. So many other experiences have happened. And also those experiences happened, which helped me to grow and not be that person anymore. Right. So it is a really interesting topic, or addition to the topic, because yeah, people change, even if it's super slow. Um, some things are subtle, some things are quick, some things are loud. But ultimately we are never changing. Or sorry, we are always changing. We never stop changing. We are always getting worse at something and better at another, or hopefully at least getting better at something. Yeah. But yeah, very, very cool. But yeah, thank you guys so much. And also I have to say, I appreciate Katie and Steve. And obviously this is something that's outside of your comfort zone because you've never done it before. Not because it's something that you don't like doing, but because it's something you've never done before. And so I have to give you guys props for being here today. I know it's difficult.
Thank you. We appreciate that. It is, when you don't do a podcast or whatever on a regular basis, anything where you're interacting with people on a serious personal level, it's a little unnerving. And it is for anybody. I mean, I come from a background of playing live music all my life and playing in worship bands and touring, and so I'm used to crowds. But it's funny, people are still people when we come down to it at the core. I can still be just as nervous talking in front of the 6 people that are watching with us right now as I am playing in front of 10,000 people at a festival in Carroll. So like it's cool, man. It's always good to step out of your comfort zone, and don't ever forget that. If you're happy and comfortable where you're at, just try going a little bit forward. Yeah, it's a little uncomfortable, but man, watch yourself grow, and it'll do you wonders. Trust me.
Yeah, for sure. And Helmrock adds on, I'm not offended at all. I completely agree with everything you guys were saying. I believe that my past does not define who I am, and absolutely doesn't define who I can become.
Yeah.
It's just knowing that a lot of people in this world don't see the same way, or it's that a lot of people in this world don't see it the same way that disheartens me. But not discouraged at all. I know who I am and know that I'm not tied to my past. no matter how long it may take to get where I aim to be. And that's awesome. I think, you're absolutely set on the right path, because it is true that a lot of people don't, they just believe that other people will never change. They'll never change. They're always going to be, whatever. And I've run into people like that. And I mean, I've literally watched someone say that, and the day after, the person changed. Like, and so it's a silly statement. But a lot of people run off of that, and I think it is unhealthy. But I think the reason they do that is because, I mean, if you look at your own life, you have to admit that you've changed, right? Even if you're not even trying, you have. I think the reason people say that other people will never change is because they're frustrated, and because they desire to hold a grudge, and they want their grudge to last. They want it to be, what's the word, justified, right? If someone doesn't like someone, they want to be justified in not liking them. Why? Because at our core, a lot of times we know that disliking someone for whatever reason is not necessarily a good thing. So we want to justify that. We want to say, it's a good thing that I dislike you. And the way that we do that is to point out their flaws and then say they'll never change, they'll never get better, right? And that's what we set our heart to. That's what we set our mind to. And I think that it's sad more than anything. It's something that one would have to pity. I mean, that's my thought anyways. I guess I don't know that for certain, but that's how I would assume the reasoning to be why people choose to say that, oh, they'll never change.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
That's pretty dang close, because that was, as you're saying that, I'm like, gosh, I personally feel that about a particular person. And I'm like,
I'm sorry, do you want me to leave?
No.
No, it was me.
No.
Oh no, guys.
Somebody I haven't spoken with in quite a long time, but somebody particular came to mind as you said that, and I'm like, dang, he's right. I did this. That's exactly what I did.
Yeah,
and that's exactly how I justified it, and it seems okay in my mind. But when it's put in front of you like that, it's like, it's really not. But I just justified it in my own head, and now I kind of feel bad about it.
I think to some extent we all do with certain individuals and certain things. We all have our past and our relationship with others, and seeing people that have struggled time and time again. I have people like that in my life, and inadvertently I can make a determination whether they're going to change or not. But ultimately that's my loss, because if they do change, they do work things out, and I don't give them the chance, that's my loss, because I could be missing out on a great individual that has changed their life and has a story to tell.
Yeah, it's a great way of looking at it too. It's your loss, and that's really hard to say, because usually like what people say is like, oh, that's their loss. They don't know me. That's their loss. To turn it around and say, well, it's my loss that I don't know them is an incredibly loving remark. It is incredibly, I think, godly remark to make, because it acknowledges that person as a dignified human being worthy of our time. And I think that that's just beautiful. Yeah. Sparrow says Minecraft is fun. So it seems that okay, so we usually get a lot more comments rolling through here than we have today, and I think perhaps that's possibly because we recently opened up a Minecraft server.
Is everybody over there hanging out?
If they're over there hanging out, then maybe like I said, there are people who tune in and just listen while they play the game, and that might be what they're doing instead of interacting at the chat with us. There's a Minecraft. Oh geez, Helmrock. Now we've Helmrock. We're gonna link him too. I shouldn't have said anything. I shouldn't have said anything.
Unleashed. I'm gonna have to call Jesse and find some way to route it back to here after they click to the Minecraft server.
We should make it so that the Minecraft server, like, it just broadcasts it on there, so that no one has a choice anymore. People in Minecraft will think we're talking to them. That'd be great. They said there's only 4 people in right now. All right, that's cool.
Oh no, now
so we have no excuse now.
Yeah, now that we've said it. Okay.
Actually, since you started talking about Minecraft, there's now 7 people.
Yeah.
We've gone up.
But yeah, Helmarok, there's a Minecraft server now. If
Yeah.
are you on our Discord? If you are, you can find somewhere on the side panel on the left side, there's Minecraft server rules. And in there, you can find the code for how to enter and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, that's great. Yeah. So honestly, this is about time we wrap it up anyways. So thank you guys so much for being on the show with us. Thanks for filling in for Joe. And it was really cool to have you again. It's really good to have different perspectives on here because I end up saying like the same things like every time. I mean, you only have your own perspective, right? And so after you've been on here for so long, you end up repeating yourself a lot, of course, for many different issues. Sometimes you come up with new things to say, but it's pretty rare. So it's cool to have you guys on here and give your own perspectives.
Thanks for
So
having
appreciate it.
us. It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
been a pleasure joining you, Mr. Ryan.
Yeah, I hope we can have you guys again. It would be really cool to do that.
Yeah.
We can
Yeah.
make that happen. We live in the same house. because
Yes,
we're married.
that's amazing. Very nice, very nice. See, I'm not married to Joe, though, so I don't know what's going on there. But I'm always meeting Joe every Wednesday, so that's weird. What what do you guys? Would you guys ever do a show like this with just you two?
Yeah.
If we plan it out, yeah, why not?
Yeah, I was just like thinking about it. It's like it would be interesting to have, we've talked about doing more shows, like Don't Worry Wednesday or whatever, when we get a bigger audience and stuff like that. But it would be cool to have something that shows two people who are married talking together for a show, because there's so much to be said there in that realm, and that impacts people in their lives.
Yeah, we're definitely not experts, but
We're learning by trial and error, like
Oh, sure.
well, we can
everybody.
share our struggles and how we
With-
get through it. I mean,
marriage and parenting, and there ain't no instructions. We'd be happy to go along the journey with other folks.
Yeah, and that's true. I mean, for so many things in life that are so important to us, there's no instruction manual. And I mean, that's one of the reasons we hold this show, right? But for marriage in particular, I think having those struggles, right, opens your eyes to so much more of what marriage is, and being able to go through those struggles and make that sacrifice, right? Those going through the hard times and making those sacrifices shows love in a truer form, right? If you're just happy-go-lucky and your marriage is perfect and there's never been a struggle in it, which it
You're
can
lying.
technically happen,
You're
it's a lie.
lying.
It's a lie, yeah. If that happens, you don't end up making any sacrifices. So in that, it's kind of like, I don't know, it's not that it's fake, but it's that so much strength is grown through testing, to those testing grounds, right?
you grow closer.
Yeah.
When you fight or have an argument, where you disagree on something, and sometimes, and when you get through it and you work through it together and learn to talk to each other and respect each other enough, love each other enough to say, okay, well, this is a struggle that we have, and being able to work through it strengthens your relationship. Every fight, I would say, strengthens you if you can actually listen to one another and work on each other, work on your things. So
Yeah, that's really interesting. I mean, there are people that I've opened up to personally in my life, as a kid and going forward, where I just show my insecurities or vulnerabilities to them in an intimate level. Not necessarily like, as close as like marriage, but just like, this is a stranger and I just open up to them, or this is a stranger and they open up to me and they're like, man, I'm going through such a hard time right now, blah, 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 blah. And they explain it. And I just feel so much closer to that human being. Right.
absolutely, yeah.
It's through our failures and our shortcomings, and then our counseling, or just really just even being angry with another person and letting that out, and then walking through it together, can really strengthen a relationship and strengthen who we are as human individuals, in beautiful
Absolutely.
ways.
Definitely not just marriage. I mean, we've been with, in working relationships and friendships, and when you struggle with things, you have to communicate. communicate and let people hear that from you and be respectful about it, but also be willing to speak up so that you're not harboring it, because there's definitely freedom in that. So, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. But anyhow, thank you guys for joining us on this show. We hope everybody who joined us in the chat, who joined us just by ear, thank you guys so much for sticking around with us, enjoying this with us, and asking the questions. We appreciate you guys. We're not super low on questions, but if you guys have anything you want us to talk about, feel free, and we encourage you to post it in the on the forums at bss.studio so that we can get to you and get to those questions. It doesn't matter what it is. It can be anything. We talked about religion today. We could talk about politics. We can talk about anything you want. Maybe it's boring. Maybe it's just, hey, what kind of cheese do you like? We don't care. If you're worried about figuring out what kind of cheese is best for your grilled cheese sandwich and it's really stressing you out, come to us. We'll tell you our thoughts and opinions, though they might not be accurate for reality. We can at least give you something to listen to. Anyhow, thank you all.
Munster and Gouda, that would be the two prime.
Gouda and what?
Munster and Gouda.
Munster is awesome. I also like Gouda. Have you ever had Havarti?
Yeah.
Ooh.
You would never have you ever had it on a grilled cheese sandwich?
I had it on a grilled turkey bagel.
Oh, so Havarti is really interesting because it melts at room temperature and it turns into something that tastes a lot like butter.
Ooh, I like.
I didn't have the same experience with it, but.
Okay, you probably didn't have it in like an 80-degree car.
Nope.
Okay, yeah. So I used to travel a lot on my car, and it would be like hot in my car, and it would just sit there and bake. And then it'd be like, I got to it, and I was like, "What happened to the cheese?" And I'm like, "Okay, it melts a little bit above room temperature," but I'm like, "What happened?" I'm like, "Oh yeah, that's cheese. I thought it was butter." And then I ate into it. I'm like, "It tastes like butter," but I know it's Havarti because it was Havarti when I put it on my sandwich. But yeah, it's interesting. I don't think you can make grilled cheese out of it, or I guess if you do, it's like really buttery. It might be good.
Might be. I also like goat cheese.
Oh, goat cheese is
really
good.
Oh, yeah.
We both are just like, oh yeah. Oh man. Yeah, goat cheese is one of my favorites. Also looking forward to this cheese discussion next week. Sweet. Well, see you later, guys. We thank you all for coming, and we hope to see you guys next Wednesday. Until then, have an amazing life, and see ya. Bye-bye.
Adios.